know how it me delighted when I beheld thee not among the damned. No greeting fair was left unsaid between us. Then asked he, How long is it since thou camest over the far waters to the mountain's foot? Oh, said I to him, through the dismal places I came this morn, and am in the first life, albeit the other, going thus, I gain. And on the instant my reply was heard, he and Sordello both shrank back from me, like people who are suddenly bewildered. One to Virgilius, and the other turned to one who sat there, crying, Up, Corrado! Come, and behold what God in grace has willed. Then turning to me, By that especial grace thou art whoso conceals his own first reward, that it has no comfort, and thou shalt be beyond the waters wide. Tell my Giovanna that she pray for me, where answer to the innocent is mine. I do not think her mother loves me more, since she has laid aside her
Now this is what I'm talking about.
She, unhappy, needs must as she can. Through her full easily is comprehended how long in woman lasts the fire of love, if eye or touch do not relight it often. So fair a hatchment will not make for her the viper marshalling the Milanese afield, as would have made Galura's cock. In this wise spoke he, with the stamp impressed upon his aspect of that righteous zeal which measurably burneth in the heart. My greedy eyes still wandered up to heaven, still to that point where slowest are the stars, even as a wheel the nearest to its axle. And my conductor, Son, what dost thou gain from the wheel? And I said to him, All those 3 torches with which this hither pole is on fire. And he said to me, The 4 resplendent stars thou sawest this morning are down yonder below, and these are counted of the Lord's work. As he was speaking, to himself Sordello turned and said, There upon with his finger to look thither. Upon the side on which the little valley no barrier hath, a serpent which was the same which gave to Eve the bitter food. Twixt grass and flowers came on the evil streak, turning at times its head round, and licking its back like a beast who has its I cannot see how the celestial clouds but well I see. Through the wings, the serpent fled, and now the cages shade that to the judge all the holy so may the white if I'm not the old, but from him I descended. To mine I bore the love which is the fire. Oh, said I unto him, for your but where is there the blessings throughout the earth when they are not known? That so that he knows of it and never was there. And as I hope for heaven, I swear to you, your honored family do not abase the glory of the person of the soul. It is so privileged by use in nature, that though a guilty head misguide the world, soul it goes right, and scorns the evil way. And he, Now go, for the sun shall not lie 7 times upon the pillow which the ground, with all his forces, before that such a precious stone shall in the middle of thy head be great that opposes thee, unless the cause of justice
Still.
Now clean light thou forth in the arms of the sweet earth. Gents, set in the shade of that fair with his tail in the sky, of the steps of the 6 shades, the night had taken to the and now the third was and I had something about vanquish myself upon the grass for time, and let all fire just at the hour when I sat with a swallow near a perchance in memory of the and when the mountain man wandered north and left, thus I thought the prison, almost respected its vision. In the end, it seemed to me I saw suspended an eagle in the sky, with plumes of gold, with wings wide open, and intent to stoop. And this, it seemed to me, was where it had been organically then to the high consistency of his death. I saw the nose, the chance the streets from habit and most of the distance to where it was. Feeling some pain, it seemed to me, terribly all thy strength. Thou hast at length arrived at purgatory. See there, the cliff that closes it around. See there the entrance where it seems destroyed. While in that dawn which thou didst see, when inwardly thy spirit was asleep upon the flowers that deck the land below, there came a man and said, I am your son. Let me take this one who is asleep, so that I may destroy easier. Sordello and the other noble shapes remained. She took thee, and as day grew bright, upward she came, and I upon her footsteps. She laid me here, and first her beauteous eyes like open windows looked after me, that shades seemed together on the way. The guise of one whose doubts were ashamed, and who contemplated so did I change, and then without disquiet and up a lonely place, thou seest well,
Come and get it.
such a place that there, where is the escort? The key to coming to the come and get my master thither go, there is the courtyard. And may she speed your footsteps in all good, again began the courteous janitor. Come forward then unto these stairs of ours. Thither did we approach, and the first stair was marble white, so polished and so smooth. The second continued deeper. Now see the right third, that nothing was just massive, but clearly seen, as only red as the blood that both of his feet were down the same fresh which seemed to me stony down. Long priest and hands sacred to my conducted drawing, as basket for mercy's sake, besought that he would first on my breast. 7 feet upon my foot,
Come and get it.
when thou shalt be within. Ashes or earth that dry is excavated, of that same color were his attire, and from beneath it he drew 2 keys. One was of gold, and the other was of silver. First with the white, and after with the yellow, plied he the door, so that I was content. Never failing to find his keys, so that it turned not right to this entrance was more precious to me than the other than art and intellect there is that come on, the paper I have, they will be For now we hear, and now hear not, the words. Canto 10. When we had crossed the thresholds of the door which the perverted love of souls disuses, because it makes the crooked way seem straight,
Come on.
I heard it close. And if I had turned back my eyes, what could I hear? Even a little here, to adapt themselves now iron bars 3 times told would measure. And far as eye of mine could wing its flight, now on the left and on the right flank now, the same this cornice did appear to me. Thereon our feet had not been moved as yet, when I perceived the embankment round about, which all right of ascent had interdicted, to be of marble white, and so adorned with sculptures, that not only Polycletus, but nature's self could therein share. The angel came down to earth, tightened his glance from one to the other, and opened heaven. In front of him, so beautiful with their sculpture in a great savage, we did not see him in the silence. One would have sworn that he was saying, Ave, for she is the effigy portrayed and turned his feet to openly exalt her movement, and in the name of his name JMC not by mind that one does the Lord. He has a whereas I mean and all of them in 7 choirs divided, of 2 senses, made one say no, the other yes, they said. Likewise, unto the smoke of the frankincense, wherein there was image toward, the eye and nose were yes and no toward. Come on, proceeded there, the best of them, the third of all, and more or less obviously, at the window of the red house, scornful. Novel to us, for here it is not found, while I delighted in contemplating the images of such humility, and dear to look on for their master's sake. Behold, upon this rarely were steps before.
Come on, man.
These were the
Come on, man. Come on.
That in beholding the seen the things of which the glorious are, in turning round the morning,
come on,
not slow, but still, thou shouldst swerve from thy good purposes, because thou hearest how God ordaineth that the dead prepare. Attend not to the fashion of the torment. Think what follows. Think that, at the worst, it cannot reach beyond the mighty sentence. Masters, began I, that which I behold moving toward us seems to me not persons, and what I know not, so in sight I waver. And he to me, the grievous quality of this their torment bows them so to earth, that mine own eyes at first contended with it, but look there fixedly, and disentangle by sight what cometh underneath those stones. Already canst thou see how each is stricken. O you proud Christians, wretched, weary ones, who in the vision of the mind infirm confidence have in your backsliding steps, do you not comprehend that we are worms, born to bring forth the angelic light and quiet of the judgment? What floats aloft your spirit? Like unto insects unto death, even as the worm in inclination things. As to sustain a seal or a root, in place of corbels, oftentimes a figure is seen in his breath, which makes of the unreal and real anguish arising in the season, fashioned thus, beheld I those.
Get ready!
Truly, they were more or less bent down, according as they more or less related, and he who had most patience in his patience would seem to say, Our Father, thou who dwellest in heaven, not circumscribed, as it is trespassing or pardon thou the night, and regard not. Our birth owes, which is easily overcome, not to the but thou from whose first this last petition beareth, not for ourselves is made, we need it not, for their sake we have remained poor. Thus, for themselves and us, further, those shapes imploring, went beneath a weight like unto that of which we sometimes dream, unequally in anguish round and round, and weary all, upon that foremost cornice, purging away the smokestacks. If their good words are always said for us, what may not here be said and done for them, by those who have a good root to their will? Well may we help them and wash away the marks that hence they carried, so that clean and light they may ascend unto the starry wheels. Ah, so may pity and justice you disburden soon, that you may have power to meet us, that shall uplift the country we desire. Show us on which hand toward the stars the way is shortest, and if more than one the passes, point us out that which least abruptly falls. For he who cometh with me, through the burden of Adam's flesh wherewith he is invested, against his will is chary of his climbing. The words of theirs which they returned to those that he, whom I was following, had spoken, it was not manifest from whom they came. But it was said, to the right hand come with us along the bank, and he shall find a pass possible for living person to ascend. And were I not impeded by the stone, which this proud neck of mine doth subjugate, whence I am forced to hold my visage down, him who still lives and does not name himself would I regard, to see if I may know him, and make him piteous unto this burden. A Latin was I, and born of a great Tuscan. Guglielmo Aldobranceschi was my father. I know not if his name were ever with you. The ancient blood and deeds of gallantry of my progenitors so arrogant made me, that, thinking not upon the common mother, all men I held in scorn to such extent I died therefore, as know the Sienese, and every child in Campagnatico. I am Umberto, and not to me alone hath pride done harm, but all my kith and kin has with it dragged into adversity. And here must I this burden bear for it, till God be satisfied, since I did not among the living, here among the dead. Listening, I downward bent my countenance, and one of them, not this one who was speaking, twisted himself beneath the weight that cramps him, and looked at me, and knew me, and called out, keeping his eyes laboriously fixed on me, who all bowed down was going with me. Oh, asked I him, art thou not Odoresi, a Gobbio's honour, and the honour of that art which is in Paris called illuminating? Brother, said he, more laughing on the knees touched by the brush of Franco Bolognese, all his the now, and mine in part. In sooth, I had not been so courteous while I was living, for the great desire of excellence on which my heart was bent. Here of such pride is paid the forfeiture, and yet I should not be here, were it not that, having power to sin, I turned to God. O thou vain glory of the human powers, how little green upon my summit leans, if it be not followed by an ancient grossness. In painting, Cimabue thought it was he that should hold the field. Now Giotto has the cry, so that the other's fame is growing dim. So has one Guido from the other taken the glory of our tongue, and he perchance is born, who from the nest shall chase them both. Not is this mundane rumour but a breath of wind, that comes now this way and now that, which makes what fame shalt thou have? If old philosopher then if thou hast decided for thy life to profit and relief, ere passeth out, which is a short distance, thinking of time, so little of the made, all has been out, and now she spoke to this what time was it before? Its best current was at that moment not a substance. The reputation is the colour of grass which comes and goes, and that discolours it by which it issues green from out the earth. And I, thy true speech fills my heart with great humility, and great tumor thou assuagest. But who is it whom thou now speakest? That, he replied, is Provençal Savage, and he is it who hath presumed to bring some power into the kingdom. He has gone out, and goeth without faith ever since done. Such money renders that the on earth is today. Besides, with every spirit who awaits the urge of life before the human hand remains the low at a sense of good, unless before ascension is instead, until as much good as the rich pass, how is the coming reckoned in the life? Then he in great distress brought himself to tremble in each vein. I say no more, and know that I speak darkly, yet little time shall pass before thy neighbours will so demean themselves that thou canst gloss it. This action has released him from those confines. End of Purgatorio, Cantos 6 through 11.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jennifer Crispin, Jefferson City, Missouri. Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. Translated by Henry Watson. Purgatorio, Canto 12. Canto 12. I would say but when he said leave him, the wish was good that he would go and as much as maybe but I regret my purchase of downcast and I had been given the obligation of my master, and so already showed how not a foot when unto me he said, cast down thine eyes. It were well for me to leave you the way to look upon the bed beneath thy foot, as that some memory of this day, was the very what they were before. And often there you become a prayer, so saw I there, but of a better semblance, in point of artistry, thickly covered whatever is captured in the best. I saw that all I saw Briareus, by the dark, Celestial lying on the other side, heavy upon the earth by mortal frost. I saw Thymbraeus, Pallas saw, and Mars, still clad in armor round about their father, gaze at the scattered members of the giants. I saw at foot of his great labour Nimrod, as if bewildered, looking at the people who had been proud with him in Sennar. O Niobe, with what afflicted eyes thee I beheld upon the pathway traced, between thy 7 and 7 children slain. O Saul, how fallen upon thy proper sword didst thou appear there lifeless in Gilboa, that felt thereafter neither rain nor dew. O mad Arachne, so I thee beheld, e'en then half spider, sad upon the shreds of fabric wrought in evil hour for thee. O Rehoboam, no more seems to threaten thine image there, but full of consternation a chariot bears it off when none pursues. Displayed moreover the adamantine pavement, how unto his own mother made Alcmaeon costly appear the luckless ornament. Displayed how his own sons did throw themselves upon Sennacherib within the temple, and how, he being dead, they left him there. Displayed the ruin and the cruel carnage that Tomyris wrought, when she to Cyrus said, Blood didst thou thirst for, and with blood I glut thee. Displayed how routed fled the Assyrians, after that Holofernes had been slain, and likewise the remainder of that slaughter. I saw their Troy in ashes and in caverns. O Ilion, thee how erect and debased, displayed the image that is there before me. Whoe'er a pencil master was for style, that could portray the shades and traits which there would cause each subtle being to be admired. Dead seemed the dead, the living seemed alive. Better than I saw not to tell the truth. After that I trod upon while bowed I went. Now wax ye proud, and on with looks uplifted, ye sons of Eve, and bow not down your faces, so that ye be behold the evil ways. More of the Mount Maias was now encompassed, and far more spent the circuit of the sun, that had the mind preoccupied in imagining. When he, whoever watched for an advance was going on, began to lift up thy head, 'tis no more time to go thus meditating. Lo, there an angel who is making haste to come toward us. Lo, returning is from service of the day that sits standing. With reverence thine accent lift the Lord, so that he may delight to speed us upward. Think that this day will never dawn again. I was familiar with his admonition ever through the time, so on this theme he could not unto me speak covertly. Towards us came the being beautiful, vested in white, and in his countenance such as appears the tremulous morning star. His arms he opened, and opened them his wings. Come, said he, near at hand here are the steps, and easy and henceforth is the ascent. At this announcement few are they who come. O human creatures born to soar aloft, why fall ye thus before a little wind? He led us on to where the rock is cleft. There smote upon my forehead with his wing, then a safe passage promised unto me. As on the right hand of the second mount proceeded is the church that borders it over the well-guided, above-river convent. The bold abruptness of the ascent broken by stairways that were made there in the age still was safe the ledger and the stave. Even thus attempered is the lane which falls sheer downward from the second circle there, but on this side and that the high rock breaks. As we were turning thitherward our persons, Beati Pomperes Spiritu, voices sang in such wise that speech can tell it not. Ah me, how different are these entrances from the Inferno, for with anthems here one sang, and below in one intense. We now were hunting at the sacred stairs, and it appeared to me by far more easy than on the plain as it appeared before. Whence my master, say, what heavy weight has been uplifted from me, so that hardly aught of fatigue is felt by me walking. He answered, when the fevers have remained still on thy face almost obliterated, so wholly as the first one must be erased, thy feet will be so vanquished by goodwill, that not alone they shall not feel fatigue, but urging up beneath them delight. Then did I, even as they do who are going, with something on the head to them unknown, unless the sign of others is down. Wherefore the hand to ascertain is helpful, and seeks and finds, and doth fulfill the office which cannot be accomplished by the sight. And with the fingers of the right hand spread, I found but 6, the letters that had trod upon my temples he who bore the keys, upon beholding which my leader smiled. End of Canto 12. Purgatorio, Canto 13. We were upon the summit of the stairs, where for the second time is cut away the mountain, descending fervent fall. There in like manner doth a cornice bind the hill all round, as does the first, save that its arc more suddenly is curved. Shade is there none, nor sculpture that appears, so seems the bank, and so the road seems smooth, with but the livid color of the stone. If to inquire we wait for people here, Poet said, I fear that peradventure too much delay will our election have. Then steadfast on the sun his eyes were fixed, made his right side the center of his motion, and turned the left part of himself about. O thou sweet light, with trust in whom I enter upon this novel journey, do thou lead us, said he, as one within here should be led. Thou warmest the world, thou shinest over it. If other reason prompt not otherwise, thy rays should evermore our leaders be. As much as here is counted for a mile, so much already there had we advanced, in little time by dint of ready will. And towards us there were heard to fly, albeit they were not visible, spirits uttering unto love's table courteous invitations. The first voice that passed onward in its flight, Venum non habent, said in accents loud and went reiterating it behind us. And ere it wholly grew inaudible, because of distance, passed another, crying, I am Orestes, and it also stayed not. Oh, said I, Father, these, what voices are they? And even as I asked, behold the third, saying, Love those from whom ye have had evil. And the good master said, This circle scourges the sin of envy, and on that account are drawn from love the lashes of the scourge. The bridle of another sound shall be, I think that thou wilt hear it as I judge, before thou comest to the pass of pardon. But fix thine eyes athwart the air right steadfast, and people thou wilt see before us sitting, and each one close against the cliff is seated. Then wider at first mine eyes I opened. I looked before me, and saw shades with mantles, not from the color of the stone diverse. And when we were a little farther onward, I heard a cry of Mary, pray for us, a cry of Michael, Peter, and all saints. I do not think there walketh still on earth a man so hard that he would not be pierced with pity at what afterward I saw. For when I had approached so near to them, that manifest to me their acts became, drained was I at the eyes by heavy grief. Covered with sackcloth vile they seemed to me, and one sustained the other with his shoulder, and all of them were by the bank sustained. Thus do the blind, in want of livelihood, stand at the doors of churches asking alms, and one upon another leans his head, so that in others pity soon may rise, not only at the accent of their words, but at their aspect, which no less abhors. And as unto the blind the sun comes not, so to the shades of whom I just now spake, heaven's light will not be doubtful of itself, for all their waves of iron wire transpiercing, and sews them up as to as far hop wild is done, because it will not quiet stay. To me it seems this passage to be outraged, seeing the others without being seen, wherefore I turned me to my counseling sailor. Well knew he what the mute one wished to say, and therefore waited not for my demand, but said, "Speak, and be brief, and to the point." I had Virgilius upon that side of the embankment from which one may fall, since by no border 'tis engarlanded. Upon the other side of me I had the shades devout, who through the horrible scene pressed up with tears so that they bathed their cheeks. To them I turned me, and, "O people certain," began I, "of beholding the high light, which your desire has solely in its care. So may grace speedily dissolve the scum upon your consciences, that limpidly through them descend the river of the mind. Tell me, for dear it will be to me, and gracious, if any soul among you here is lacking, and 'twill perchance be good for him, I learn it. O brother mine, each one is citizen of one true city, but thy meaning is, who may have lived in Italy a pilgrim?" By way of answer this I seemed to hear, a little farther on than where I stood, whereat I made myself still nearer heard. Among the rest I saw a shade that waited in aspect, and should any one ask how, its chin it lifted upward like a blind man. "Spirit," I said, "who stoopest to ascend? If thou art he who did reply to me, make thyself known to me by place or name." "Sienese was I," it replied, "and with the others here to recleanse my guilty life, weeping to him to lend himself to us. Sapient I was not, although I Sapia was called, and I was at another's harm, more happy far than at my own good fortune, and that thou mayest not think that I deceive thee. Here if I was as foolish as I tell thee, are already in my years of my fellow citizens there at the college were joined in battle with their adversaries, and I was praying God for what he willed. Routed were they, and turned into the bitter passes of flight, and I, the chase beholding, a joy received unequaled by all others, so that I lifted upward my bold face, crying to God, "Henceforth I fear thee not," as did the blackbird of the little sunshine. Peace I desired with God at the extreme of my existence, and as yet would not my debt have been my penitence discharged, had it not been that in remembrance held me, Pierre Pupignano in its holy prayers, who out of charity was raised to us. But who art thou, that into our condition questioning goest? And hast thine eyes unbound, as I believe, in breathing gospel's course? Mine eyes, I said, will yet be repaid from me, but for short space, for small is the offence committed by their being found within me. Far greater is the fear wherein suspended my soul is of the torment underneath, for even now they lay down their ways on me. And she to me, "Who led thee then among us up here, if to return below thou thinkest?" And I, "He who is living, and speaks not." And living am I, therefore ask of me, spirit elect, if thou wouldst have me move o'er yonder, yet my mortal feet for thee. "Oh, this is such a novel thing to hear," she answered. "That great sign it is God loved me. Therefore with prayer of thine sometimes assist me. And I implore, by what thou most desirest, if e'er thou treadest the soil of Tuscany, well with my kindred reinstate my face. Then wilt thou see among that people vain, who hope in Telamone, and will lose there more hope than in discovering the Diana. But there still more the admirals will lose." End of Canto 15. Purgatorio, Canto 14. Who is this one that goes about our mountain, or ever death has given power of flight, and opens his eyes and shuts them at his will? I know not who, but know he's not alone. Ask him thyself, for thou art nearer to him, and gently, so that he may speak, accost him. Thus did two spirits leaning towards each other discourse about me there on the right hand, then held supine their faces to address me. And said the one, "O soul that fastens still within the body, towards heaven art going, for charity console us, and declare, whence comest, and who art thou? For thou makest us as much to marvel at this grace of thine, as must a thing that never yet has been. And I, through midst of Tuscany there wanders a streamlet that is born in Falterona, and not 100 miles of course suffice it. From thereupon do I this body bring, to tell you who I am were a speech in vain, because my name as yet makes no great noise. And if well thy meaning I can penetrate with intellect of mine, then answered me he who first spake, Thou speakest of the Arno. And said the other to him, Why concealed this one the appellation of that river, even as a man doth of things horrible? And thus the shade that questioned was of this self-acquitted, I know not, but truly 'tis fit the name of such a valley parish. For from its fountainhead, where it so pregnant the Alpine mountain whence it struck Caloro, that in few places is that mark that passes, to where it yields itself in restoration, of when the heaven doth and the sea dry up, whence have the rivers that which goes with them. Virtue is like an enemy avoided by all, as is a serpent, through misfortune of place, or through bad habit that impels them. On which account have so transformed their nature, the dwellers in that miserable valley, it seems that Circe has had them in her pasture. Mid ugly swine of acorns, worthier than other fruit that was created, it first directed its impoverished way. Hers findeth it thereafter, coming downward, more snarling than what listens to dance, and turns from them disdainfully its mother. It goes on falling, and the more it grows, the more it finds the dogs becoming wolves, this maledictive adventurous ditch. Descended then through many a hollow gulf, it finds the foxes so replete with fraud, they fear no cunning that may master them. Nor will I cease because another hears me. And well 'twill be for him, who still remind him of what a truthful spirit to me unravels. Thy grandson, I behold, who doth become a hunter of those wolves upon the bank of the wild stream, and terrifies them all. He sells them, if they be yet alive, thereafter slaughters them like ancient beasts, many of life, himself of praise, pride. Blood-stained and issues from the dismal forest, he leaves it such 1,000 years from now, in its primeval state which is not rewarded. As at the announcement of the impending death, the face of him who listens is disturbed, from whate'er side the peril sees upon him. So I beheld that other soul, which stood, turned round the living, though disturbed and sad, when it had gathered to itself the word. The speech of one and aspect of the other had me desirous made to know their name, and questioners for prayers I made thereof. Whereat the spirit which first spake to me began again, Thou wishest thou should bring me to do for thee what thou'lt not do for me. But since God willeth that in thee shine forth such grace of his, I'll not be chary with thee. Know then that I, Guido Delta, my blood was so with envy set on fire, that if I had beheld a man make merry, thou wouldst have seen me sprinkle o'er with pallor. From my own sowing such the straw I reap. O human race, why dost thou set thy heart where interdicted partnership must be? This is Rainier, this is the boast and honor of the house of Calvoli, where no one since has made himself the heir of his destiny. And not alone when blood is made devoid, twixt Po and mount, and seashore and Reno, of good required for truth or for diversion. For all within these boundaries is full, running with roots, so that too tardily by cultivation now would they diminish. Where is Delizio, Amerigo Monardi, Pier Traversaro, and Guido de Campigna? Oh, Rome is the bastard term. When in Bologna will a Fablo rise? When in Faenza Bernardino di Fosco, the noble scion of ignoble seed? Be not astonished, husband, I weep, when I remember with Guido da Prada, Ugolin Diazzo, who was living with us. Frederick Pignoso and his company, the house of Traversara, and the Anastasia, and one race and the other is extinct. The dames and cavaliers, the toils and ease that filled our souls with love and courtesy, there with the hearts of so malicious grown. O Bretinoro, why dost thou not flee, seeing that all thy family is gone, and many people not to be corrupted? Bagnacaval does well in not begetting, and ill does Fracataro Antonio worse, in talking trouble to beget such counts. Will do well the Pagani when their devil shall have departed, but not therefore pure will testimony of them e'er remain. O Ugolin de Fantoli, secure thy name, since no longer is awaited one whose degenerating can obscure it. But go now, Tuscan, for it now delights me to weep far better than it does to speak. So much has our discourse my mind expressed. We were aware that those beloved souls heard us depart, therefore, by keeping silence, they made us of our pathway confident. When we became alone by going onward, thunder when it doth cleave the air, appeared, a voice that counter to us came, exclaiming, Shall slay me whosoever findeth me, and fled as the reverberation dies, when suddenly the cloud of thunder bursts. As soon as hearing had a truce from this, behold another with so great a crash, that it resembled thunderings following fast. I am Aglarus, who became a stone. And then, to press myself close to the poet, I backward, and not forward, took a step. Already on all sides the air was quiet, and said he to me, "That was the hard curve that ought to hold a man within its bounds. But you take in the bait so that the hook of the old adversary draws you through him, and hence availeth little curve or fall. The heavens are calling you, and wheel around you, displaying to you their eternal beauty, and still your eye is looking on the ground, whence he, who all determines, chastises you." End of Canto 14. Purgatorio, Chapter 15. As much as twixt the close of the third hour and dawn of day appeareth of that sphere, which I in fashion of a child is playing, so much it now appeareth towards the night, as of his course were made with the sun. There it was evening, and 'twas woman's cheer. And the rays smote the middle of our faces, because by us the mountain so encircled that straight towards the west we were now going. And I perceived my forehead overpowered beneath the splendor far more than at first, and stupor were to me the things unknown. Whereat towards the summit of my brow I raised my hands, and made myself the visor which the excessive glare diminishes. As when from off the water, or a mirror, the sunbeam leaps unto the opposite side, ascending upward in the self-same measure, that it descends and deviates as far from falling of a stone in line direct, as demonstrate experiment and art. So it appeared to me that by a light refracted there before me I was smitten,
Thought I lost my
of which
shadow
account
for
my
a
sight was swift to flee. "What is that, Father sweet, from which I cannot so fully screen my sight that it avail me?" said I, "and seems toward us to be moving." "Marvel thou not, if dazzle thee as yet the family of heaven," he answered me. "An angel 'tis, who comes to invite us upward. Soon will it be that to behold these things shall not be grievous, but delightful to thee, as much as nature fashioned thee to feel." When we had reached the angel Benedict, with joyful voice he said, "Here, enter into stairway far less steep than are the others." We mounting were already thence departed, and Beati Misericordis was behind us sung, "Rejoice, thou that o'ercomest." My master and myself, we two alone, were going upward, and I thought, in going, some profit to acquire from words of his. And I to him directed me, thus asking, what did the spirit of Romagna mean, mentioning interdict and partnership? Whence he to me, of his own greatest failing he knows the harm, and therefore wonder not if he reprove us, that we less may rue it. Because are thither pointed your desires, where by companionship each share is lessened, envy doth fly the bellows to your sides. But if the love of the supernal sphere should upwardly direct your aspiration, there would not be that fear within your breast. For there, as much the more as one says our, so much the more of good each one possesses, and more of charity in that cloister burns. "I am more hungering to be satisfied," said I, "than if I had before been silent, and more of doubt within my mind I gather. How can it be that boon distributed, the more possessors can more wealthy make therein, than if by few it be possessed?" And he, to me, "Because thou fixest still thy mind entirely upon earthly things, thou pluckest darkness from the very light. That goodness infinite and ineffable, which is above there, runneth into love, as to a lucid body comes the sunbeam. So much it gives itself as it finds ardor, so that as far as charity extends, o'er it increases the eternal valor. And the more people thitherward aspire, more are there to love well, and more they love there, and as a mirror one reflects the other. And if my reasoning appease thee not, thou shalt see Beatrice, and she will fully take from thee this and every other longing. Endeavor then that soon may be extinct, as are the two already, the 5 wounds that close themselves again by being painful." Even as I wished to say, "Thou dost appease me," I saw that I had reached another circle, so that my eager eyes made me keep silence. There it appeared to me that in a vision, ecstatic on a sudden, I was rapt, and in a temple many persons saw me, and at the door a woman, with the sweet behavior of a mother, saying, "Son, why in this manner hast thou dealt with us? Lo, sorrowing, thy father and myself were seeking for thee." And as here she sees, that which appeared at first had disappeared. And I beheld another with those waters, adown her cheeks, which grief distills whenever from great disdain of others it is born. And saying, "If of that city thou art Lord, for whose name is such strife among the gods, and whence doth every science scintillate, avenge thyself on those audacious arms that cast our daughter, O Pisistratus, and the Lord seemed meek, benign, and mild. He answered her with aspect temperate. What shall we do to those whom we fulfill, if he who loves us be by us condemned? And then saw I people hot in fire and wrath, with stones, a young man slain clamorously, still crying to each other, Kill him! Kill him! And him I saw bow down, because of death that laid already on him, to the earth, but of his eyes no ever gazed to heaven, imploring the high Lord, so in great strife, that he would pardon those who persecuted with such an aspect as unlocks compassion. Soon as my soul had outwardly returned to things external to it which are true, but I must not cross error in recognize. My leader, who could see me bear myself like to a man that rouses to sleep, exclaimed, What ails thee that thou canst not stand, but hast been coming more than half a league, veiling thine eyes, and with thy legs entangled, in guise of one who time or sleeps from thee? Oh, my sweet father, if thou listen, I'll tell thee, said I, what appeared to me when thus from me my legs were taken away, and he, if thou shouldst have 100 masks upon thy face, from me would not be shed thy commutation, howsoever strong. What thou hast seen is what thou mayest not fail to open thy heart to the waters of peace, from which the eternal fountain appears. I did not ask what ails thee, as he does who only looketh with the eyes that see not within the soul the rest the body lies, but ask him to give vigor to thy feet. Thus must we needs urge on the sluggards, slow to use their wakefulness when it returns. We passed along, athwart the twilight peering forward as far as ever eye could stretch, against the sunbeams serotonin loosened, and lo, by slow degrees a smoke approached in our direction, somber as the night. Nor was there a place to hide oneself therefrom. This of our eyes and the pure air directed us. End of Canto 15. Purgatorio, Canto 16. Darkness and air, where the night deprived of every planet under a poor sky, as much as was impenetrous with cloud. Ne'er made unto my sight so thick a veil, as did that smoke which bare enveloped us, nor to the feeling so rough a touch. For not an eye it suffered to stay open, whereat my escort, faithful and sagacious, drew near to me and gobbled me the shadow. Even as a blind man goes behind his guide, lest he should wander, or should strike against aught that may harm or peradventure kill him, so went I through the bitter and foul air, listening unto my leader, who said only, Look that from me thou not be separated. Voices I heard, and every one cheered the supplicate to peace, and he said he could, the Lamb of God, who takes away our sins. Still, I stay there according to him. One word there was in all, a meter one, so that all harmony appeared among us. Master, said I, are spirits those I hear? And he to me, thou apprentice true, and they the not of angels were music. Now who art thou that cleavest through our smoke, and art discoursing of us, even as though thou didst by calends still divide the time? After this manner by a voice was spoken, whereon my master said, Do thou reply, and ask if on this side the way go upward. And I, O creature that dost cleanse thyself to return beautiful to him who made thee, thou shalt hear marvels if thou follow me. Thee will I follow as far as is allowed me, he answered, and if smoke prevent our seeing, hearing shall keep us joined instead thereof. Thereon began I, with that swathing band which death unwindeth am I going upward, and hither came I through the infernal anguish. And if God in his grace has me enfolded, so that he wills that I behold his court, by method wholly out of modern knowledge, conceal not from me who ere death thou wast, but tell it me, and tell me if I go right for the pass, and be thy word thou hast known. Lombard was I, as I remarked withal. The world I knew, and loved that excellence, at which has each one now bent his bow. For mounting upward thou art going right. Thus he made answer and said, Lord, I pray thee to pray for me when thou shalt be above. And I to him, my faith I pledge to thee, to do what thou dost ask me, but am bursting in me with doubt, unless I rid me of it. First it was simple, and is now made double by thy opinion, which makes certain to me, here and elsewhere, that which I couple with it. The world, forsooth, is utterly deserted by every virtue, as thou tellest me, and with iniquity is big and covered. But I beseech thee, point me out the cause, that I may see it, and to others show it. For one in the heavens, and here below one picture. a sigh profound that drew forth from the eye. He first sent forth, and then began his brother, the world is blind, and sleep thou comest from it. Ye who are living every cause prefer still upward to the heavens, as if all things they of necessity made with themselves. If this were so, in you would be destroyed free will, nor any justice would there be in having joy for good or grief for evil. The heavens your movements do initiate. I say not all, but granted that I say it, light has been given for good and evil. And free volition, which, if some fatigue in the first battles with the heavens and suffers, afterwards conquers all, if well tis to greater force and to a better nature. Most free ye subject are, and that creates the mind in you the heavens have not in charge. Hence, if the present world doth go astray, and you the cause is, be it sought in you, and I therein will now be thy true spy. Forth from the hand of him who models it, before it is like to a little girl, weeping, laughing in her childish spirit. Issues the simple soul that nothing knows, save that, proceeding from a joyous maker, gladly it turns to that which gives it pleasure. Of trivial good at first it tastes the savor, is cheated by it, and runs after it. If guide or rein turn not aside its love. Hence it behooved laws for a range of place, behooved a king to have, who at the least of the true city should discern the power. The laws exist, but who sets hand to them? No one, because the shepherd who proceeds can ruminate, but cleaveth not the hood. Wherefore the people that perceive its guides strike only at the good for which it hankers, feeds upon that, and farther seeketh not. Clearly canst thou perceive that evil guidance the cause is that has made the world depraved, and not that nature is corrupted. Rome, that reformed the world, accustomed was two sons to have, which one rode, and the other a god of the world, made manifest. One has the other quenched, and to the crossier the sword is joined, and ill beseemeth it, that by the main force one would the other go. Because being joined, one feareth not the other. Thou believe not, and think upon the grain, for by its seed each herb is recognized. In the land laved by Poe and Adige, valor and courtesy used to be found, before that Frederick had its controversy. Now insecurity can pass that way, whoever will abstain, through sense of shame, from speaking with the good, or drawing near them. True, 3 old men are left, in whom upbraids the ancient age the new, and late they deem it that God restore them to the better life. Corrado da Palazzo, and good Gerardo, and Guido da Castel, who better named is, in fashion of the French, the simple Lombard. Say thou henceforward that the Church of Rome, confounding in itself 2 governments, falls in the mire, and soils itself in burden.
Come on, Wimp.
O Marco mine, I said, thou reasonest well, and now discern I why the sons of Levi have been excluded from the heritage. But what Gerardo is it, who as a sample of a lost race thou sayest has remained in restoration of the barbarous age? Either thy speech deceives me, or it tempts me, he answered. For speaking Tuscan, it seems a good Gerardo not thou knowest. By other surname do I know him not, unless I take it from his daughter Gaia. May God be with you, for come I no farther. Behold the dawn that through the smoke rays out, already the lightning, and I must depart. Yonder the angel is, ere he appear. Thus did he speak, and was no farther. End of Canto 16. End of Purgatorio, Canto 12 and 16. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jennifer Crispin, San Francisco, Missouri.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Melody of Madison, Massachusetts. The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. Translated by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Canto 17 to Canto 21. Canto 17. Remember, reader, if ever in the Alps, and this overtook thee, through which thou couldst see not otherwise than through its rendering moon, how, when the vapours heated and condensed, begin to dissipate themselves, the sphere of the sun feebly enters in among them, and thy imagination will be swift in coming to perceive how I resaw the solar course that was already settled. Thus to the faithful footsteps of my master making mine own, I issued from that cloud to raise already dead on the low shores. O thou imagination that dost steal us so from without sometimes, that man perceives not, although around they sound 1,000 trumpets. Who moveth thee, if sense impel thee not? Moves thee a light, which in the heaven takes form, by self or by a will that downward guides it. Of her impiety who changed her form into the bird that most delights in singing, in my imagining appeared the trace. And hereupon my mind was so withdrawn within itself, that from without there came nothing that then might be received by it. Then reigned within my lofty fantasy one crucified, disdainful, and ferocious in countenance, and even thus was dying. Around him were the great Ahasuerus, Esther his wife, and the just Mordecai, who was in word and action so entire. And even as this image burst asunder of its own self in fashion of a bubble, in which the water it was made of fails, there rose up in my vision a young maiden, bitterly weeping, and she said, O Queen, why hast thou whipped in anger to be knocked? Thou slain thyself, Lavinia, not to lose. Now hast thou lost me. I am she who mourns, mother, at thine ere at another's ruin. As sleep is broken, when upon a sudden new light strikes in upon the eyelids closed, and broken quivers ere it died wholly, so this imagining of mine fell down, as soon as the effulgence smote my face, greater by far than what is in our walk. I turned me round to see where I might be, when said a voice, Here is the passage up, which from all other purposes removed me, and made my wish so full of eagerness to look and see who was it that was speaking. It never rests till meeting face to face. But as before the sun, which falls the sun, and in its own excess its figure veils, even so my power was insufficient here. This is a spirit divine, who in the way of going off directs us without asking, and who with his own light himself conceals. He does with us as man doth with himself, for he who sees the need waits the asking, blindly leads already towards denial. Accord we now our feet to such inviting, let us make haste to mount ere it grow dark, for then we could not till the day return. Thus my conductor said, and I and he together turned our footsteps to the stairway, and I, as soon as the first step I reached, really perceived a motion as of wings, and fanning my face, and saying, Recti pacifici, who are without ill anger. Already over us were so uplifted greatest sunbeams which the night pursues, that upon many sides the stars appeared. O manhood mine, why dost thou banish so? I said within myself, for I perceived the vigor of my legs was pushed and free. We at the point were where no more ascends, the stairway upward and more motionless, even as a ship which at the shore arrives. And I gave heed a little as I might hear, aught whatsoever in the circle knew. Then to my master turned me around and said, Say, my sweet father, what delinquency is purged here in the circle where we are? Although our feet may pause not thy speech. And he to me, The love of good remiss in what it should have done is here restored. Here plied again the ill-belated oar. But still more openly to understand, turn unto me thy mind, and thou shalt gather some profitable fruit from our delay. Neither creator nor creature ever, son, he began, was destitute of love, natural or spiritual, and thou knowest it. The natural was ever without error, but err the other may by evil object, or by too much, or by too little vigor. While in the first it well directed is, and in the second moderates itself, it cannot be the cause of sinful pleasure. But when to ill it turns, and with more care or lesser than it ought, runs after good, 'gainst the Creator works his own creation. Hence thou mayst comprehend that love must be the seed within yourselves of every virtue, and every act that merits punishment. Now, inasmuch as never from the welfare of its own subject can love turn its sight, from their own hatred all things are secure, and since we cannot think of any being standing alone, nor from the first divided, of hating him, is all desire cut off. Hence, if, discriminating I judge well, The evil that one loves is of one's neighbor, and this is born in 3 modes in your clay. There are, who by abasement of their neighbor hope to excel, and therefore only long that from his greatness he may be cast down. There are, who power, grace, honor, and renown fear they may lose because another rises, thence are so sad that in reverse they love. And there are those whom injury seems to chafe, so that it makes them greedy for revenge, and such must needs shake off another's hand. This threefold love is what for down below. Now of the other will I have thee here, that runneth after good with measure faulty. Each one confusedly a good conceives, wherein the mind may rest and longeth for. Therefore to overtake each one strives. If languid love to look on this capacity, or in attaining unto it this furnace, after just penitence torment you for it. There's other good that does not make man happy. 'Tis not felicity, 'tis not the good essence of every good the fruit and root. The love that yields itself too much to this, above us, is lamented in few sentences. And how tripartite it may be described, I say not, but thou seekest for thyself. End of Canto 17. Canto 18. An end had put unto his reasoning the lofty teacher, and a tent was looking into my face if I appeared content. And I, whom a new thirst still goaded on, without was mute, and said within, Perchance the too much questioning I make annoys him. But that true father, who had comprehended the timid wish, that opened not itself, by speaking gave me hardihood to speak. Whence I, My sight is, master, vivified, so in thy light that clearly I discern whatever thy speech importeth or describes. Therefore I thee entreat, sweet father dear, to teach me love to which thou dost refer, every good action and its contrary. Direct, he said, towards me the keen eyes of intellect, and clear will be to thee the error of the blind who would be leaders. The soul, who is created apt to love, is mobile unto everything that pleases, soon as by pleasure she is waked to action. Your apprehension from some real thing an image draws, and in yourselves displays it, so that it makes the soul turn unto it. And if, when turned towards it she incline, love is that inclination, it is nature, which is by pleasure bound in you anew. Then, even as the fire doth upward move, by its own form which to ascend is born, where longest in its matter it endures, so come the captive soul into desire, which is a motion spiritual, and never rests, until she doth enjoy the thing beloved. Now may apparent be to thee how hidden the truth is from those people who aver all love in itself a laudable thing, because its matter may perchance appear, aye, to be good, but yet not each impression is good, albeit good may be the wax. Thy words and my sequacious intellect, I answered him, have love revealed to me, for that has made me more inclined with doubt. For if love from without be offered us, and with another foot the soul go left, if right or wrong she go, 'tis not her merit. And he to me, what reason seeth here myself to compel thee? Beyond that awaits the Beatrice, since 'tis a work of faith. Every substantial form that segregates the matter is, and with it is united, specific power as in itself collected, which without act is not perceptible, nor shows itself except by its effect, as light does in a plant by the green leaves. But still, whence cometh the intelligence of the first notions man is ignorant, and the affection for the first allurements, which are in you as instinct in the bee to make its honey, and this first desire, merited praise or blame containeth none. Now, that to this all others may be gathered, and made within you is the power that counsels, and it should keep you the threshold of effect. This is the principle from which is taken occasion of deserting you, according as good and guilty love it takes and winnows. Those who, in reasoning, to the bottom went, were of this innate liberty aware, therefore refused to say ethics to the world. Supposing then, that from necessity springs every love that is within you kindled, within yourselves the power is to restrain it. The noble virtue Beatrice understands, but is free will, and therefore see that thou bear it in mind. if she should speak of it. The moon, belated almost unto midnight, now made the stars appear to us more rare, formed like a bucket, that is all ablaze, and counter to the heavens ran through those paths which the sun sets flame, where he of Rome sees it twixt Sardes and Corsica's go down. And that patrician shade, for whom is named Pietola more than any man in town, had laid aside the burden of my lady, whence I, in reason manifest and plain, and answer to my questions had received, stood like a man in drowsy reverie. But taken from me was this drowsiness suddenly by a people, that behind our backs already had come round to us, and as of old as Ismenus and Asopus beside them saw at night the rush and throng, if but the Thebans were in need of Bacchus. So they along that circle curved their step, from what I saw of those approaching us, who by good will and righteous love are ridden. Full soon they were upon us, because running moved onward all that mighty multitude, and two in the advance cried out, lamenting, Mary in haste unto the mountain ran, and Caesar, that he might subdue Ilerda, thrust at Marseilles, and then ran into Spain. Quick, quick, so that the time may not be lost by little love. Forthwith the others cried, For ardor and well-doing freshens grace. O folk, in whom an eager fervor now supplies perhaps delay and negligence, put by you in well-doing through lukewarmness. This one who lives, and truly I lie not, would fain go up, if but the sun be like us. So tell us where the passage nearest is. These were the words of him who was my guide, and some one of those spirits said, Come on behind us, and the opening shalt thou find. So full of longing are we to move onward that we cannot. Therefore pardon us if thou for churlishness our justice take. I was son Zenos abbot at Verona, under the empire of good Barbarossa, of whom still sorrowing Milan holds discourse. And he has one foot in the grave already, who shall ere long lament that monastery, and sorry be of having their head covered. Because his son, his whole body sick, and worse in mind, and who was evil born, he put into the place of its true pastor. If more he said, or silent was, I knew not. He had already passed so far behind us, but this I heard, and to retain it pleased me. And he, who was in every need my succor, said, Turn thee hitherward. See two of them come fastening upon slothfulness their teeth.
Still.
In rear of all they shouted, Sooner were the people dead to whom the sea was open, than their inheritors were joined soft. And those who the fatigue did not endure, unto the issue in Titan's son, themselves to life without any glory offered. Then, when from us so separated were those shades, that they no longer could be seen, within me a new thought did entrance find. Whence others many and diverse were born, and so I lapsed from one into another, that in a reverie my eyes I closed, and meditation into gloom transmuted. End of Canto 18. Canto 19.
But towards the hour when the diurnal her adventures, and geomancers that were teenagers and rise by a path that all the lands have seen. It came to me in dreams of standing in moon, squinting my eyes, and in the feet disturbing, the hands to sever I would follow down. I looked at her, and as the sun restores the pretty temples, which the night comes, even thus my gaze did render voluble. Her tone made her all erect, as love desires it so, in her did colour. When in this wise she had her speech unloosed, she gan to sing so that with difficulty could I have turned my thoughts away from her. I am, she sang, I am the siren sweet, who mariners amid the main unman, so full am I of pleasantness to hear. I drew Ulysses from his wandering way unto my song, and he who dwells with me seldom departs, so wholly I content him. Her mouth was not yet closed again before appeared a lady saintly and alert, close at my sign to put her to confusion. Virgilius, oh Virgilius, who is this? Sternly she said, and he was drawing near with eyes still fixed upon that noble one. She seized the other and in front laid open, rending her garment as her belly showed me, was wakeful with the stench that issued from it.
I turned mine eyes, and with Virgilius said, At least thrice have I called thee, rise and come, find me the opening by which thou mayest enter. I rose, and full already of high day were all the secrets of the sacred mountain.
Still.
And with the new sonata back he went, following behind him, I my forehead bore like unto one who has a great cross to make himself to half art of the and I heard say, Come, hear the passages, spoken in manner gentle and benign, such as you hear not in this mortal region. With open wings which of a swan appeared, upward he turned us, who thus spake to us, between the two walls of the solid granite. He moved his pinions afterward and fanned us, affirming those allegiance to be blessed, for they shall have their souls where it is fulfilled. What aileth thee that I first thou gazest? My guide began to say, we both somewhat beyond the age of heaven. And I, with such misgiving makes me go, a vision new which rends me inside, so that I cannot from the thought withdraw me.
Still.
Didst thou behold, he said, that old enchantress whose soul above us hangs forth in the enchanted? Didst thou behold how man is freed from her? Suffice it thee, and smite earth with thy fears, my eyes look upward to the lure, and whirls the twisting with revelations vast. Even as the hawk that turns his feet to raise, then turns into the coal and stretches forward, the desire of food that draws him thither. Such I became, and such as far as cleaves I left to give away to many mouths, then on to where the circling doth begin. On the fifth circle I had come forth, people I saw upon it who were weeping so much food along the ground, all downward turned. Adhisit pavimento anima mea, I heard them say with sighing so profound that hardly could the words be understood. O ye elect of God, whose sufferings, justice, and hope both render less severe, direct ye us toward the high ascents. If ye are come secure from this prostration and wish to find the way most speedily, let your right hands be evermore outside. Thus did the poet ask, and thus was answered, by them somewhat in front of us, whence I, in what was spoken, divined the rest concealed. And unto my Lord's eyes mine eyes I turned, whence he ascended with a cheerful sign, to what the sight of my desire implored. When of myself I could dispose at will, above that creature did I draw myself, whose words before had caused me to take note, saying, O Spirit, in whom weeping ripens, that without which to God we cannot come. Suspend a while for me thy greater care. Who wast thou, and why are your backs turned upwards? Tell me, and if thou wouldst that I could prove anything there when kneeling I departed. And he to me, wherefore are backs that heaven turned to itself? No shalt thou, but beforehand, seest quod ego fui successor vitae. Between Siestri and Chiavari descends a river beautiful and unexplored, the title of my blood in summit lays. A month and little more, said I now, weighs the great cloak on him from mire who keeps it, for all the other burdens being feathered. Tardy, woe is me was my devotion, but when the Roman shepherd I was made, and I discovered life to be alive. I saw that there the heart was not at rest, nor farther in that life could be set, whereby the love of bliss was kindled in me. Until that time a wretched soul, and parted from God was I, wholly avaricious. Now, as thou seest, I feel and pray for it. What avarice does is here made manifest, in the purgation of these souls converted, and no more bitter pain than the mountain, even as our eye could not uplift itself aloft being fastened upon earthly things, so justice here has merged within earth, as avarice had extinguished our affection for every good whereby was action lost, so justice here doth hold us in restraint, bound and imprisoned by the feet and hands, and so long as it pleases the just Lord shall we remain immovable and prosperous. I on my knees had fallen and wished to speak, but even as I began, and he was ware only by listening of my reverence. What cause, he says, has downward bent thee thus? And I to him, for your own dignity standing, my conscience stung me with remorse. Straighten thy legs, and upward raise thee, brother. He answered, Err not, fellow servant am I, with thee and with the others to one power. If ever that holy evangelic sound, which saith nec movent, thou hast heard, well canst thou see why in this wise I speak. Now go, no longer will I have thee linger, because thy stay doth incommode my weeping.
with which I ripen that which thou hast said. On earth I have a grandchild named Elegia, good in herself unless indeed our house malevolent may make her and she alone remains to me on earth. And Canto 19. Canto 20. Ill strives the will against the better will. Therefore, to pleasure him against my pleasure, I drew this lunge and sat with from water. Onward I moved, and onward moved my leader, through vacant places, skirting still the rock, as on a wall closest to backwards. For they that through their eyes pour drop by drop the melody which all the world pervades. On the other side, too, near the virgin earth. Accursed mayst thou be, thou old she-wolf, more than all the other beasts as a prey, because of hunger infinitely hollow. O heaven, in whose gyrations some appear to think conditions here below are changed, when will he come through whom she shall depart? Onward we went with footsteps slow and scarce, and I attended to the shades I heard, piteously weeping and bemoaning them, and I by peradventure heard sweet Mary uttered in front of us amid the weeping, even as a woman does who is in childbirth, and in continuance. How poor thou wast is manifested by that hostelry where thou didst lay thy sacred burden down. There afterward I heard, O good Fabricus, virtue with poverty didst thou prefer to the possession of great wealth or plus. So pleasurable were these words to me that I drew farther onward to have knowledge, touching that spirit whence they seemed to come. He furthermore was speaking of the largess which Nicholas under the maidens gave, in order to conduct their youth to honor. O soul, but dost so excellently speak! Tell me, who wast thou, said I, and why only thou dost renew these praises well deserved? Not without recompense shall be thy word if I return to finish the short journey of that life which is flying to its end. And he, I tell thee, not for any comfort I may expect from earth, but that so much grace shines in thee or ever thou art dead. I was the root of that malignant plant which overshadows all the fruits thereof, so that good fruit is seldom gathered from it. But if Duane Gent and Leland Boots had power, soon vengeance would be taken on it. And this I pray of him who judges old. Through Capet was I called upon the earth. From me were born the Louis and Philips, by whom in later days has France been governed. I was the son of a Parisian butcher, what time the ancient kings had perished all, excepting one contrite and clothless grey. I found me grasping in my hands the rein of the realm's government, and so great power of new quest, and so with friends abounding, that to the widowed diadem promoted that the head of mine own offspring was, from whom the consecrated bones of youth began. So long as the great dowry of province out of my blood could not be sense of shame, 'twas little worth, but still it did no harm. Then it began with falsehood and with force, its rapine, and thereafter for amends took Ponthieu, Normandy, and Gascony. Charles came to Italy, and for amends a victim made of Conradin, and then thrust Thomas back to heaven for amends. A time I see not very distant now, which draweth forth another Charles from France, the better to make known both him and his. Unarmed he goes, and only with the lands that Judas jousted with, and that he thrusts, so that he makes the Pontiff's thorns burst. He thence not land, but sin and infamy shall gain, so much more grievous to himself, as the more light such damage he accounts. The other, now gone forth, taking the ship, see I his daughter sell, and chaffer for her, as corsairs do with other female slaves. What more, O avarice, canst thou do to us, since thou my blood so to thyself hast drawn? It careth not for its own proper flesh, that less may seem the future ill and past. I see the flower de luce Alagna enter, and Christ in his own vicar captive made. I see him yet another time derided, I see renewed the vinegar and gall, and between living thieves I see him slain. I see the modern Pilates so relentless. This does not sate him, but without decretal he to the temple bears his sordid sails. When, O my lord, shall I be joyful made by looking on the vengeance which, concealed, makes sweet thine anger in thy secrecy? What I was saying of that only bride of the Holy Ghost, and which occasioned thee to turn towards me for some commentary, so long has been ordained to all our prayers, as the day lasts, but when the night comes on, contrary sound we take instead thereof. At that time we repeat Pygmalion, of whom a traitor, thief, and parricide made his insatiable desire of gold, and the misery of avaricious Midas that followed his inordinate demand, at which forevermore one needs but laugh. And foolish Achan each one then records of how he stole the spoils, so that the wrath of Joshua still appears to sting him. Then we accuse Sapphira with her husband, we laud the hoofbeats Heliodorus had, and the whole mount of infamy in circles. Calling Nestor, who murdered Heliodorus, here finally is cried, O Crassus, tell us, for thou dost know, what is the taste of gold. Sometimes we speak, one loud, another low. Sometimes the desire of speech that spurs us to greater now, and now to lesser pace. But in the good that here by day is talked of, erewhile alone I was not, yet near by no other person lifted up his voice. From him already we departed were, and made endeavour to overcome the road, as much as was permitted to our power. But I perceived like something that is falling, the mountains tremble, whence a chill seized on me, as seizes him who to his death is going. Certes, so violently shook not Delos before Latona made her nest therein, give birth to the two eyes of the heaven. Then upon all sides there began a cry, such that the master drew himself towards me, saying, Fear not, while I am guiding you. Gloria in excelsis Deo, all were saying, from what near I comprehended, for it was possible to hear the cry. Because immovable and in suspense, even as the shepherds who first heard that song, until the trembling ceased, and it was finished. But then we resumed again on our holy path, watching the shades that lay upon the ground, already turned to their accustomed complaint. Though ignorance ever with so great a strife had rendered me importunate to know, if erreth not in this my memory, as meditating then I seemed to have, nor out of haste to question did I dare, nor of myself I there could aught perceive. So I went onward, timorous and thoughtful. End of Canto 20. Canto 21. The natural thirst that never is satisfied excepting with the water for whose grace the woman of Samaria besought, put me in travail, and haste goaded me along the encumbered path behind my leader. And I was pitying that righteous vengeance, and lo! In the same manner as Luke writeth that Christ appeared to upon the way, from the sepulchral cave already risen, a shade appeared to us and came behind us, down gazing in the prostrated multitude. Nor were we aware of it until it spake, saying, My brothers, may God give you peace. We turned us suddenly, and Virgilius rendered to him the countersign thereto conforming. Thereon began he, In the blessed counsel, be may the court veracious place in peace, that me doth banish in eternal exile. How, said he, and the while we went with speed, if ye are shades whom God deems not on high, who up his stairs so far has guided you? And, said my teacher, if thou note the marks which this one bears, and which the angel traces, well shalt thou see he with the good must reign. But because she who spinneth day and night for him had not yet drawn the distaff off, with cloth lays for each one and compacts, this soul, which is thy sister and my own, in coming upwards could not come alone, by reason that it sees not in our path. Whence I was drawn from out the ample throat and held to be his guide, and I shall guide him, as far on as my school has power to lead. But tell us if thou knowest why such a shudder. Erstwhile the mountain gave, and why together, all seemed to cry as far as its moist feet. In asking, he so picked the very eye of my desire, that weary with the hope my thirst became the less unsatisfied. Naught was there, he began, that without order may the religion of the mountain feel, nor aught that may be foreign to its custom. Free is it here from every permutation, from what from itself heaven in itself receiveth, can be of this the cause and not beside. Because that neither rain, nor hail, nor snow, nor dew, nor hoar frost any higher falls than the short little stairway of 3 steps. Dense clouds do not appear, nor rarefied, nor coruscation, nor the daughter of Themis, that often upon earth her region shifts. No arid vapor any farther rises than to the top of the 3 steps I spake of, whereon the vicar of Peter has his feet. Lower down perchance it trembles less or more, but for the wind that in the earth is hidden I know not how, up here it never trembled. It trembles here whenever any soul feels itself pure, so that it soars or moves to mount aloft, and such a cry attends it. Of purity the will alone gives proof, which being wholly free to change its convent, takes by surprise the soul and helps it fly. First it wills well, but the desire permits not, which divine justice with the self-same will there was to sin upon the torment sets. And I, who have been lying in this pain 500 years and more, but just now felt a free volition for a better seat. Therefore thou heardst the earthquake and the pious spirits along the mountain rendering praise unto the Lord, that soon he sped them upwards. So said he to him, and since we enjoy as much in drinking as the thirst is great, I could not say how much it did me good. And the wise leader: Now I see the net that snares you here, and how ye are set free, why the earth quakes, and wherefore ye rejoice. Now who thou wast be pleased, that I may know, and why so many centuries thou hast here been lying, let me gather from thy words. In days when the good Titus, with the aid of his supremest king, avenged the wounds whence issued forth the blood by Judas' sword, under the name that most endures and honors reside on earth, that spirit of his life. Greatly renowned, but not with faith as yet. Thy vocal spirit was so sweet, that Rome, me a Pelusian, drew unto herself, where I deserve to deck my brows with mercy. Theseus the people name me still on earth, I sang of Hades and then of great Achilles, but on the way fell with my second weapon. The seeds unto my ardor were the sparks of that celestial flame which heated me, whereby more than 1,000 have been fired. Of the Aeneid speak I, which to me another was, and was my nurse in soul. Without this raid I must drop my drink. And who have lived upon the earth that time where Julius lived, I would accept one son more than I must ere issuing from my bed. These words towards me made Virgilius turn with looks that in their silence said, Be silent, but yet the power that wills cannot do all things. For tears and laughter are such pursuivants unto the passion from which each springs forth, and the most truthful lead the will they follow. I only smiled as one who gives the wink, whereat the shade was silent, and it gazed into mine eyes, where most expression dwelt. And, as thou mayst consummate a labour so great, it said, why did thy face just now display to me the lightning of style? Now am I caught on this side and on that. One keeps me silent, one to speak conscious, and therefore I sigh, and I am understood. Speak, said my master, and be not afraid of speaking, but speak out. Say to him what demands with such solicitude. Whence I, Thou peradventure marvellous, though antique spirit, of the smile I gave, but I will have more wonders consequently. This one, who guides on high these eyes of mine, is that Virgilius, from whom thou didst learn to sing aloud of men and of the gods. Of other cause thou by smile impudence abandon it as false, and trust it was those words which thou hast spoken concerning them. Already he was stooping to disgrace my teacher's feet, but he said to him, Brother, do not, for shade thou art, and shade beholdest. And he uprising, Thou canst thou the sum of love which warms me to thee comprehend, when this our vanity I disremember, treating a shadow as substantial thing. End of chapter 21.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, translated by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Purgatorio, Cantos 22 to 27. Canto 22. Already was the angel left behind us, the angel who to the sixth round had turned us, being erased from the mark from the face. And those who have injustice their desire have said to us, Beati in their places, Sitio, without more ending. And I, more light than through the other passes, went onward so, without any labour, I followed upwards with the spirit. When thus Virgilius began, the love kindled by virtue, I another kindled, and outwardly its flame appeared. Hence from the hour Juvenal descended among us into the infernal limbo, and made apparent to me thy affection. My kindliness towards thee was as great as ever bound one to an unseen person, so that these stairs will now seem short to me. But tell me, and forgive me as a friend, if too great confidence let loose the rein, and as a friend now hold discourse with me. How was it possible within thy breast for avarice to find place, mid so much wisdom as thou wast filled with by thy diligence? These words excited Statius at first somewhat to laughter. Afterward he answered, Each word of thine is love's dear sign to me. Verily oftentimes do things appear which give fallacious matter to our doubts, instead of the true causes which are hidden. Thy question shows me thy belief to be that I was niggard in the other life, it may be from the circle where I was. Therefore know thou that avarice was removed too far from me, and this extravagance thousands of lunar periods have punished. And were it not that I my thoughts uplifted, when I the passage heard where thou exclaimest, as if indignant to human nature, To what impellest thou not, O cursed hunger of gold, the appetite of mortal men? Revolving I should fear the dismal joustings. Then I perceived the hands which spread too wide their wings in spending, and repented me as well of that as of my other sins. How many with shorn hair shall rise again because of ignorance, which from this sin cuts off repentance living and in death? And know that the transgression which rebuts by direct opposition any sin, together with it here its verdure dries. Therefore I have been among that folk which mourns its avarice, to purify it, for its opposite is this befallen. Now when thou soundest the relentless weapons of the twofold affliction of Jocasta, the singer of the songs Public said, and that was clear there with three preludes, it does not seem that yet it made thee faithful, that faith without which no good works suffice. If this be so, what candles or what suns scattered thy darkness, so that thou didst trim thy sails behind the fisherman thereafter? Thou first directedst me towards Parnassus in its grots to drink, and first concerning God didst me enlighten, and didst as me who walketh in the night, who bears his light behind, which helps him not, but wary makes the persons after him, and thou didst say, the age renews itself, justice returns, and man's primeval time, a new progeny descends from heaven. Through thee I a poet was, through thee a Christian, and that thou better see what I design, to colour will I extend my hand. Already is the world in every part pregnant with the true creed, disseminated by messengers of the eternal kingdom, and thy assertion, spoken of above, with the new preachers was in unison, whence I to visit them with a custom took. Then they became so holy in my sight, that when Domitian persecuted them, not without tears of mine were their laments. And all the while that I on earth remained, then I befriended, when their upright customs made me disparage all the other sects. And there I led the Greeks on to the rivers of Thebes, in poetry, I was baptized, for out of fear was covertly a Christian, for a long time professing paganism, and this lukewarmness caused me the fourth circle to circuit round more than 4 centuries. Thou, therefore, who hast raised the covering that hid from me whatever good I speak of, while in ascending we have time to spare, tell me, in what place is our friend Terentius, Caecilius, Plautus, Varro, if thou knowest? Tell me if they are down, and in what alley? These, Perseus and myself, and others many, with that Grecian on whom more than all the rest the Muses suckled, the first circle of the prison blood. Ofttimes we of the mountain hold discourse which is our nurses ever with itself. Euripides is with us, Antiphon, Simonides, Agathon, and many other Greeks who have oiled their brows with laurel decked. There some of thine own people may be seen, Antigone, Deiphile, and Argive, and there Ismene, mournful as of old. There she is seen who pointed out Langia, there is Tiresias' daughter, and there Thetis, and there Deidamia with her sisters. Silent already were the poets waiting, intent once more in looking round about, from the ascent and from the walls released. And 4 handmaidens of the day already were left behind, and at the pole the 5th was pointing upwards still its burning horn. What time my guide, I think that towards the edge our dexter shoulders it behoves us turn, circling the mount as we are wont to do. Thus in that region custom was our ensign, and we resumed our way with less suspicion, for the assenting of that worthy soul. They in advance went on, and I alone behind them, and I listened to their speech, which gave me lessons in the art of song. But soon their sweet discourses interrupted a tree which midway in the road we found, with apples sweet and grateful to the smell. And even as a fir tree tapers upward from bough to bough, so downwardly did that, I think in order that no one might climb it. On that side where our pathway was enclosed, fell from the lofty rock a limpid water, and spread itself abroad upon the leaves. The poets twain unto the tree drew near, and from among the foliage a voice cried, Of this food ye shall have scarcity. Then said, More thoughtful Mary was of making the marriage feast complete and honourable, than of her mouth which now for you responds. And for their drink the ancient Roman women with water were content, and Daniel disparaged food and understanding them. The primal age was beautiful as gold, acorns it made with hunger savorous, and nectar every withered with thirst. Honey and locusts were the elements that fed the Baptist in the wilderness, and he was glorious and so magnified, as by the Evangel is revealed to you. Canto 23. The while among the verdant leaves mine eyes I riveted, as he is wont to do who wastes his life pursuing little birds. My more than father said unto me, Son, come now, because the time that is ordained us more usefully should be apportioned out. I turned my face, and no less soon my steps unto the sages, who were speaking so they made the going of no cost to me. And lo, they heard a song and a lament, Labia mea domine, in fashion such that delight and dolence it brought forth. O my sweet father, what is this I hear? Began I, and he answered, Shades that go perhaps the not unloosing of their debt. In the same way that thoughtful pilgrims do, who unknown people on the road o'ertaking, turn themselves round to them, and do not stop. Even thus, behind us with a swift emotion coming and passing onward, gazed upon us a crowd of spirits, silent and devout. Each in his eyes was dark and cavernous, pallid in face, and so emaciate that from the bones the skin did shape itself. I do not think that the sage nearest Rhine could Erysichthon have been withered up by famine, the most fear he had of it. Thinking within myself, I said, "Behold, this is the hope of lost Jerusalem, where Mary made a prey of her own son." The sockets were like rings without the gems. Whoever in the face of men reads Omo might well indeed have recognized the end. Who would believe the odor of an apple begetting longing could consume them so, yet of water without knowing how? I still was wondering what so famished them, for the occasion not yet manifest of their emaciation and sad squalor. And lo, from out the hollow of his head, his eyes a shade turned on me and looked keenly. Now, what grace to me is this? Never should I have known him from his look, but in his voice was evident to me that which his aspect had suppressed within it. This spark within me wholly re-enkindled my recognition of his altered face. I recalled the features of Foresa. Oh, do not look at this dry leprosy penetrating me, which doth my colour discolour, nor at default of flesh that I may have, but tell me truth of thee. And who are those two souls that yonder make for thee an escort? Do not delay in speaking unto me. That face of thine which death may once bewept gives me for weeping now no lesser grief, answered him, beholding it so changed. But tell me, for God's sake, what thus denudes you? Make me not speak while I am marvelling, for ill speaks he who's full of other longing. And to me, eternal counsel poured power into the water, and the tree that was left, whereby I grow so thin. All of this people who lamenting sing, for following beyond measure appetite and hunger and thirst are here re-sanctified. Desire to eat and drink enkindles in us the scent that issues from the apple tree, and from the spray that sprinkles o'er the verdure, which at a single time alone, its ground encompassing, is refreshed by pain. I say our pain, I ought to say our solace, for the same wish doth lead us to the tree which led the Christ rejoicing to say, Eli, when with his veins he liberated us. To him, Forese, from that day when for a bitter life thou changest worlds, up to this time 5 years have not rolled around. But sooner were the power exhausted in thee of sinning more, than thee the hour surprised of that good sorrow which to God reweds us. How hast thou come up hitherward already? Thought to find thee down there underneath, the time of restitution. To me, to drink of the sweet world of his torments, Manella with her overflowing tears. She with her prayers devout and with her sighs has drawn me from the post where one awaits, and from the other circle set me free. So much more dear and pleasing as to God my little widow, whom so much I love, as in good works she is the more alone. For the Barbagia of Sardinia are far more modest in its women is than the Barbagia of left her own. O brother sweet, what wilt thou have me say? The future time is in my sight already, to which this hour will not be very old, and from the pulpit shall be interdicted to the unblushing womankind of Florence to go about to display the best of clothes. What Saracens who stood in need to make them covet-going, spirit or other disease. But if the shameless women were assured what swift heaven prepares for them, already wide open will they have their mouths to howl. Force I hear deceive me not, they shall be sad ere he has bearded cheeks, who knows hushed to sleep with lullaby. O brother, now no longer hide thee from me. See that not only I, but all these people are gazing there, where thou dost veil the sun. As I told him, if thou bring back to mind what thou with me hast been, and I with thee, a pleasant memory will be grievous slain. To that life that turned me back who goes in front of me, 2 days agone when around the sister of him yonder showed herself. The sun pointed. Through the deep night of the truly dead is this one led me, with his true flesh that follows after him. Once his encouragement had led me on, ascending and still circling round the mounts that he doth straiten, in a world made crooked. He says that he will bear me company, till I shall be where Beatrice will be. There it behoves me to remain without him. This is Virgilius who thus says to me, and whom I pointed at. The other is that shade for whom just now shook every slope or realm, and from itself discharges him. Canto 24. Nor speech the going, nor the going that slackened, but talking we went bravely on, even as a vessel urged by a good wind. And shadows that appeared things doubly dead, from out the sepulchres of their eyes betrayed wonder at me, aware that I was living. And I, continuing my colloquy, said, peradventure he goes up more slowly than he would do, for other people's sake. But tell me, if thou knowest, where is Picarda? Tell me if any one of note I see among this folk that gazes at me so. My sister, who, twixt beautiful and good, I know not which was more, triumphs rejoicing already in her crown on high Olympus. So said he first, and then, 'tis not forbidden to name each other here, so milked away is our resemblance by our dieting. This, pointing his finger, is Buona Giunta of Lucca, and that face beyond him there, more peaked than the others, has held the holy church within his arms. From Tours was he, and purges by his fasting Bolsena's eels and the Vernaccia wine. He named me many others one by one, and all contented seemed at being named, so that for this I saw not one dark look. I saw for hunger bite the empty air Ubaldin dalla Pila, and Boniface, who with his crook had pastured many people. I saw Messer Marchese, who had leisure once at Forli for drinking with less dryness, and he was one who ne'er felt satisfied, but as he does who scans, and then doth prize one more than others, did I him of Lucca, who seemed to take most cognizance of me. He murmured, and I know not what gen took her, from that place heard I, where he felt the wound of justice that doth macerate them so. O soul, I said, that seemest so desirous to speak with me, do so that I may hear thee, and with thy speech appease thyself and me. A maid is born, and wears not yet the veil, who to thee shall pleasant make my city, howsoever men may blame it. Thou shalt go on thy way with this prevision. If by my murmuring thou hast been deceived, true things hereafter I will declare to thee. But saith him I here behold, who forth evokes the new invented rhymes, beginning, ladies that have intelligence of love, and I to them. One am I who, whenever love doth inspire me, note, and in that measure which he within me dictates, singing go. Old brother, now I seize the knot which made the notary and the toner held short of the sweetening style that now here. Perceive full clearly how your pens go closely following after him who dictates, which with our own forsooth is not to pass. He who sets him forth to go beyond, no different sees from one style to another, so satisfied who held with peace. Even as the birds that winter towards the Nile sometimes into a phalanx form themselves, and fly in greater haste and going far. In such wise all the people who were there, turning their faces, hurried on their steps, both by their leanness and their wishes light. And as a man who weary is with trotting, lets his companions onward go, and walks, until he vents the panting of his chest, so did Forese let the holy flock pass by, and came with me behind it, saying, When will it be that I again shall see thee? How long, I answered, I may live, I know not, yet my return will not so speedy be, but I shall sooner in desire arrive, because the place where I was set to live from day to day of good is more depleted, and until dismal ruin seems ordained. Now go, he said, for him most guilty of it at a beast's tail, behold, I dragged along towards the valley where is no repentance. Faster at every step the beast is going, increasing evermore until it smites him and leaves the body vilely mutilated. Not long those wheels shall turn, and he uplifted his eyes to heaven, ere shall be clear to thee that which my speech no farther can declare. Now stay behind, because the time so precious is in this kingdom that I lose too much by coming onward thus abreast with thee. Sometimes issues forth upon a gallop the cavalier from out a troop that ride, and seeks the honour of the first encounter, so he with greater strides departed from it, and on the road remained I with those two, who were such mighty marshals of the world. And when before us he had gone so far, mine eyes became to him such pursuivance as was my understanding to his words. Appeared to me with laden and living boughs another apple tree, not far distant, and having but just then turned thitherward. Even I saw both it lift their hands, and cry know not what towards the leaves, for children eager and demanding, who pray, and he they pray to doth not answer, but to make very keen their appetite, holds their desire aloft, and hides it not. Then they departed as if undeceived. And now we came unto the mighty tree, which prayers and tears so manifold refuses. Passed farther onward without drawing near, the tree of which Eve ate is higher up, and out of that one has this tree been raised. Thus I know not who among the branches, whereat Virgilius, Stasius, and myself went crowding forward on the side that rises. Be mindful, said he, of the accursed ones formed of the cloud rack, who inebriate combat of Theseus with their double breasts, and of the Jews who showed them soft in drinking, whence Gideon would not have them for companions when he towards Midian the hills descended. Closely pressed to one of the two borders, on we passed, hearing sins of gluttony, followed forsooth by miserable games. Then set at large upon the lonely road, 1,000 steps and more we onward went, in contemplation, each without a word. What go ye thinking thus, ye three alone? Said suddenly a voice, whereat I started as terrified and timid beasts I were. I raised my head to see who this might be, and never in a furnace was there seen metals or glass so lucent and so red as one I saw, who said, May please you to mount aloft, here it behoves you turn, this way goes he who goeth after peace. His aspect had bereft me of my sight, so that I turned me back unto my teachers, like one who goeth as his hearing guides him, and as harbinger of early dawn, the air of May doth move and breathe out of fragrance, impregnate all with herbage and with flowers, so did I feel a breeze strike in the midst my front, and felt the moving of the plumes that waved around an odour of ambrosia. And it said, Blessed are they who grace so much illumined. The love of taste excites not in their breasts too great desire, hungering at all times so far as is just. Canto 25. Now was it the ascent no hindrance brooked, because the sun in his meridian circle to Taurus left, and the night was a Scorpio. Wherefore as doth a man who tarries not, but goes his way, whate'er to him appear, of necessity the sting transfix him, this wise did we enter through the gap, taking the stairway one before the other, which by its narrowness divides the highways. And as the little stork that lifts its wing with a desire to fly, does not venture to leave the nest, lets it downward droop, even such was I, with the desire of asking, kindled, quenched, unto the motion coming he who doth address himself to speak. Not for our pace, though rapid it might be, the sweet forbore, but said, Let fly the borrowed speech thou to the bar dost draw. With confidence I opened then my mouth, and I began, How can one need it there where the need of nutriment lies not? thou wouldst call to mind how bleak was wasted by the wasting of the ground, this would not, be to thee so sour. And wouldst thou think how at each tremulous motion trembles within a mirror your own image, which seems hard, would mellow seem to thee. Thou mayst content thee in thy wish, lo, Statius here, and him I call and pray he now will be the healer of thy wounds. If thou unfold to him the eternal vengeance, Statius, where thou present art, be my excuse that I can naught deny thee. Son, if these words of mine thy mind doth contemplate and doth receive, be thy light unto the how thou sayest. Perfect blood, which never is drunk up into the thirsty veins, remaineth like food from the table thou removest, takes in the heart for all the human members virtue and formative, being that which to be changed to them goes through the veins, again digest. Sons of guilt is better silent to be than saved, then drops thence upon the mother's blood in natural violence. They are one together with the other mingled, and to be passive matters, which by reason of the perfect place it springs from, and being conjoined, begins to operate, regulating first, then vivifying what those matter it had made consistent. The active virtue, being made a soul, as of the plant, and so far different this on the way is that arrived already, then works so much that now it moves and feels like a sea feels, and then undertakes to organize the powers whose seed it is. Now, son, dilates and now distends itself with virtue from the generator's part, where nature is intent on all the members. But how from animal man becomes, thou dost not see it yet. This is a point which made a wiser man than thou once so far, that in his doctrine separate he made the soul from possible intellect, and he no organ saw by this assumed. Open thy breast unto the truth that's coming, and know that, just as soon as in the fetus the articulation of the brain is perfect, the primal motor turns to it well pleased, and so great art of nature, and inspires a spirit new with virtue all replete, which what it finds there active doth attract into its substance, and becomes one soul, which lives and feels and of itself revolves. And that thou less may wonder at my word, behold the sun's heat which becometh wine, joined to the juice that from the vine distills. Whenever lachesis has no more thread, it separates from the flesh, and virtually